Duqm is a new master plan city located in Oman, currently being built 300 miles outside the capital of Muscat. Before construction on the new city, Duqm was a fishing village, home to many fishermen and their families in past generations. However, in recent years, the town has been growing in all of population, economy, and size, sparked by a development project. The project's first plans began in the 1980s with the goal of developing and populating rural parts of Oman. This was due to having 70% of the country's population reside within 150 miles of coastal strip near Muscat. The government viewed these hundreds of miles of unused coastline as full of economic potential, thus beginning the development of Duqm. According to the project's blueprint, the plan is to build a new international airport, tourist resort, fishing harbor, industrial zone, and residential zone in the next few years. The goal is to have 111,000 people residing in the city once it is fully built. The logic behind this project is that the city's port and economic zone will act in a symbiotic manner, meaning that the port will drive demand for industries in the economic zone, and these industries will create new demands for housing for the employees and investors. This population will then need entertainment, shops, schools, and other essential services. The country also aims to move its focus away from oil and gas dependency. Although the city is still in its early phase, with the highway just paved, the port and dock recently operating, and doors of five-star hotels and villas just opening, it has seen many positive results already. An example of this is a population having grown from 6,000 people in 2011 to 12,000 people by 2017. The city's natural geography and location also gives it an advantage, conveniently located by major shipping routes that link the growing economies in India and East Africa. Over 30,000 square kilometers of territory around the country have been reserved for nature and wildlife sanctuaries, focusing on sustainable aspects of master planned cities. Like many other new upcoming cities, their goal is to reshape the economy and rebrand the country as a technologically advanced and economically stable place. The company in charge of this project is Oman's Duqm refinery, with aid of international financing. Some of these international investors include Kuwait, Japan, Saudi Arabia, and South Korea, as well as 6 Chinese firms who aim to invest up to $10.7 billion. The city is designed, planned, and managed by the Special Economic Zone Authority. Taking a look at Duqm's current standings on a national level, Oman is finding itself at a critical juncture, as the status of diminishing oil reserves presents itself as a pressing issue. The Gulf Cooperation Council region, shortened to the GCC, is currently going through socio-economic reorientation. Oman, being a member of the GCC, is experiencing similar political and spatial transformations. With a potential crisis on the horizon, reforms are being undertaken to try to avoid the potential burden of over-reliance on a disappearing finite resource. The GCC is a regional intergovernmental political and economic agreement uniting the traditionally oil-dependent economies of the Persian Gulf. Oman, a GCC member nation, holds a powerful geopolitical position. The state is situated at the mouth of the Persian Gulf, making it a strategic point of entry for nautical trade routes from the Indian Ocean. Thus, in the contemporary context of regional unrest, Oman is presented with an opportunity to assert itself as a key actor within the GCC's industrial and logistical corridors. The state's political agenda moving forward prioritizes a transition away from oil-based industry, seeking diversification of spatial and socio-economic functions. To avoid the looming threat of political and economic turmoil, Oman's strategy seeks to redefine its national image as a means of seducing international interest. The Duqm Special Economic Zone and the extensive master plan settlement set to arise within its special jurisdiction present themselves as microcosms of national policy. Oman has adopted a national reform strategy underpinned by an enabled private sector aimed at the fostering of a knowledge-based economy in the industrial, logistical, and commercial sectors. Motivated by a regionalized race to reform, the state's strategy to remain competitive calls for infrastructure projects capitalizing on its strategic position. Evidently, to remain competitive within the GCC region, the government seeks to convince an international audience that Oman hosts liberal spaces. Therefore, the government has conceived a plan to establish the social and physical infrastructure required to backbone socio-economic reform policies. However, there are various challenges emerging as the state continues to push forward with their diversification plans. One of the main concerns deals with the local population. Many of the local constituents oppose the project because their land is being taken from them. The government has incentivized citizens by providing luxury villas to those who have been directly impacted by the project. This pushes residents to relocate to the outskirts of the city, especially fishermen and semi-nomadic herders who sit on viable real estate for the new construction of the port. Appeasing people doesn't disregard the fact that many aspects of life are blatantly being ignored. Fishing is the main livelihood for many of Oman's residents, and the local fishing union of Duqm opposes the plans of the government to house the Middle East's largest fishery. This new fishing hub will attract larger commercial fishing boats, posing the threat that these larger boats will overfish the region, both pushing out the smaller, more traditional methods of fishing and running Duqm dry of fish. There are also various environmental concerns with the construction of the new city. Noise pollution caused by a new railway, deconstruction of the mangrove forest, and construction of a port, to name the few. The port will be home to the storing facilities, which potentially expose the air, water, and local community to chemicals. There are also plans to alter the desert up to 11.5 square miles outside the city limits and create a territory of nature and wildlife to attract ecotourism. Another challenge is the creation of new jobs. While it has been stated that the new city should create around 300,000 new jobs, how viable are they for the future? Are they a temporary solution to Oman's job crisis, or is it foreigners who will be taking these jobs? Another concern is if Oman will have enough money to complete the city. Even though Duqm is well situated, making it an attractive asset to investors, that might not be enough. $1.2 billion have already been put into the city. However, there have been hiccups with the construction of the railway already. If there isn't enough money to back it, will Duqm become another ghost town? By attempting to diversify Oman's economy to reach a global scale, there is a clear neglect of local precedents. The local context is being ignored and instead being replaced by prioritizing foreign agendas. There has been little to no discussion or mitigation about the future with locals. Rather, these plans have been imposed onto them without much of a say at all. Moving on to some of the broader politics surrounding Duqm. Its construction and role of Chinese funding should be understood within the broader context of China's Belt and Road Initiative. China's Belt and Road Initiative, which is also known as the 21st Century Silk Road, is an economic development strategy currently being pursued by the Chinese government. This project includes the development of infrastructure in over 60 countries all over the world, and aims to expand China's trading network through the development of several overland corridors and sea-based shipping lanes. In 1995, Oman announced plans to diversify its economy and reduce the country's dependence on oil as part of Vision 2020. As of 2017, Oman has a $73 billion state economy oil dependence, with 50% of the country's GDP and 70% of exports coming from the oil and gas sectors. As part of this plan, Oman's government has prioritized the development of new industrial zones that will attract foreign investment in an attempt to develop new jobs and promote a more diversified economy. China's Belt and Road Initiative fits perfectly with Oman's goals, as China is actively looking for oil-rich countries in the Middle East to secure partnerships with. China has increasingly been facing difficulties meeting its domestic energy demand, and is therefore looking for other countries to meet their needs. Beginning in 1983, China and Oman have had a stable ongoing relationship based on oil exports, with Oman presently being China's fourth largest source of oil. Recently, this relationship has expanded to include access and permission given by Oman to allow China to build a port and special economic zone in Duqm. In 2016, a Chinese investment firm declared plans to build an industrial city in Duqm with an investment of $10.7 billion. Construction workers and financing will originate from China, and a proposed plan includes the development of an oil refinery, oil and gas equipment production sites, car building factories, and desalination plants. Additional residences, businesses, and tourist areas will also be built. Oman is strategically valued highly in the context of China's Silk Road Belt Initiative because of its location on the coast, which presents itself as an attractive port area in addition to its energy-rich state. China is heavily dependent on the Middle East for oil, and therefore being able to access this energy through ports and land routes is incredibly convenient. China is also able to expand its geopolitical influence through the port of Duqm, as the facilities in Duqm can be used for military operations as well as administrative activities. Though Duqm may create and face many challenges along the way, we are hopeful for its success as a city and a learning experience.